Hey, my name is Jace Cox. I'm one of the co-founders of Report.RN, and my focus is on finance and business development.
And I'm BJ Fulmer, and I'm another co-founder of Report.RN, and I'm a registered nurse. Next slide, please. We want to paint a picture before we get going of what being a registered nurse is like. You start work at 6 a.m. and you have to get report on 6 different patients. That takes up to an hour of your whole day. And I just take notes on a blank sheet of paper to keep track of all of my patients. It's not very effective. And then throughout my entire very busy day where I'm documenting medications and my assessments, I have to get all of the things I did and organize it into a way that I can then again give an efficient and effective shift report. Next slide, please.
So as we researched how shift report is done by nurses, we wanted to determine if what BJ just explained, if that was something that he alone was experiencing, the struggle with how shift report was done, or if nurses across the country were experiencing those same difficulties with how shift report is done and the process. And what we found is that 70% of hospitals in the United States do not have a standardized handoff process for nurses. This led to a lot of poor communication between nurses, as well as misleading and inefficient information being passed about patients. This poor communication then led to medical errors. 2 out of every 3 medical errors is due to poor communication, such as what happens during shift report. Next slide, please. So as we looked at this problem, we developed a solution that we called Report.RN. Report.RN is an electronic health record application that implements into the electronic health record for each patient in a hospital, so that nurses can then create a digitized template report to use during their shift report that they can also print off and use throughout their day. Next slide, please.
This is a blown up version of what Report.RN looks like. Over on the right, we've got a list of some of the items that are included in Smart Report, and these items are critical for every nurse to know about every patient that they're taking care of. That includes the demographics, the patient's medical history, and pertinent lab values and most recent vital signs. Next slide, please.
Report.RN is currently listed on the Cerner app gallery. Cerner is one of the largest electronic health record companies in the United States. Our team went through a rigorous development process in order to get our application validated for security and use. By being listed on the app gallery, it shows that Cerner has validated it and the application is market ready, meaning it's ready to be used by nurses in hospitals currently using Cerner's EHR. Next slide, please. So the current market opportunity for Report.RN is in the 880,000 beds in hospitals across the United States. Cerner has about a 29% market share. So in Cerner alone in the United States, that gives us a TAM of about $200 million annually. One of the other large players in the EHR space is a company called Epic. Epic is a much larger company with a larger reach, and they've expanded into more hospitals. So our goal is to grow the company and offer Report.RN on Cerner's EHR as well as Epic's EHR as well. Next slide, please.
I got my bachelor's degree of science in nursing at Dixie State, and I'm currently working as a registered nurse in the intensive care unit at St. George Regional Hospital.
My educational background is dual bachelor's degrees in finance and economics from Utah State, and I currently work for a financial planning and investment management firm. Next slide, please. So what we're looking for in terms of investment in order to grow Smart Report is we're looking for about a $300,000 investment. Initially, that would be used to hire out our sales and support team to continue to grow, as well as hire an individual. Her name is Pam Bonnet. Pam has been an advisor to us thus far and has been an invaluable resource. Her experience is in the healthcare space, specifically working in electronic health record companies. As well, her most recent experience is working with a dental healthcare company and helping them go public. So we'd love to be able to bring her on as more of a contracted consultant. We'd also then use that investment to start to implement our application into Epic's electronic health records so we can offer it in that market as well as conduct clinical studies with in a hospital so we can further prove the concept of Report.RN. We're also looking for mentors from the audience that can help us build out our roadmap and as well as a marketing and sales strategy. Next slide, please.
We really think that SmartReport.RN is the solution that we and I need as a nurse to help decrease unnecessary overtime for hospitals, increase patient safety, and even increase nurse job satisfaction. And we like to open up for questions from the audience.
Okay, great, guys. First question in from Sean Nelson. What competition is there for this type of RN software?
That's a great question. Thank you. So currently, there isn't any type of application that we've been able to find that offers a similar product in terms of shift report. Some electronic health record companies, such as Cerner, have developed applications that is geared toward nurses, but not specifically for shift report. So SmartReport.RN is the first of its kind in this space, directed specifically at nurses for how shift report is done.
Okay, great, thank you. Who is the buyer? Who are you targeting?
So the main target would be, so specifically for hospitals that use Cerner for their EHR. So our main target would be geared towards those hospitals that use Cerner's electronic health record system. It makes the process streamlined to implement it into their hospital. We already have the relationship with Cerner as well as the hospital. The implementation is easy. So the buyer, the target client for us is hospitals currently using Cerner as their EHR.
Thank you. Comment and question from Kenneth Gray, citing his IBM experience, which had a healthcare industry focus. Have you considered large data processing companies to help market your offering?
So we've had small discussions with Cerner. We haven't gone outside of electronic health record companies. We haven't reached out to any companies such as IBM. That's definitely something we would consider and how to further grow the product. And individuals such as Pam would allow us to tap into her network and really grow into that space. So that's something we're considering. And Pam would be an individual that would really help us grow into that.
Okay, I think that answer also dovetailed into Matt Gardner's question regarding the purchasing process. If you've had any discussions on that, do you want to elaborate further?
Yeah, we've had discussions with several hospitals and administrators, and there's a lot of interest. Being a small fish currently in this space, our target market is trying to get into maybe smaller hospitals and then grow into larger hospitals. Have had discussions, but those are in the early stages. But there is a lot of interest from the hospital systems we have talked with.
Great. And can you talk about the feedback you have received on your tech from nurses and hospital administrators?
Yeah, I'm going to refer to BJ as the registered nurse, has more hands-on experience with that.
Yeah, so before we started to implement this idea, I started asking all my coworkers and everyone around the hospital and even nurse managers on different units if this design would be effective. And 80% or more of the people that I talked to said that would help me so much, because then I don't have to deal with all the distractions and everything that come with shift report, and I have an easy way to get organized as well. So everyone in my jurisdiction, as far as nurses and administrators and techs, they love the idea.
And also one of the hospital systems we've had discussions with, they proposed the idea to their board, specifically their nursing board, and their board had really positive feedback. We're very interested in the idea. As with all new technology, it's getting nurses to change away from using the pen and paper to the digitized technology along with the pen and paper.
Okay, and how many ERH platforms are out there like Cerner?
The three big players in the space are Cerner, Epic, and Allscripts. There's several other smaller companies, but those are the three main players that have the majority of the market share.
Okay, we have just a little bit left time. What is the cost? What are the costs associated with this?
So costs are initially to be listed on Cerner's application. So there's a cost associated with that just to be a part of their program and be offered as an application within their EHR, as well as API costs for each call that the application makes back to Cerner in order to pull the correct data. So there's costs. Those are the main costs associated with that, and then obviously further staff and support costs will be incurred as we grow. But those are the current costs specifically associated with the application.
Okay, and I'm sorry, we are over.